Good morning, everybody. It's Brian Caprice. Welcome to our Monday morning market breakdown. We didn't see you guys last week, but I hope everybody's had a good 2 weeks. This was a nice, relaxing weekend. For those of you that follow me, this was a big lacrosse weekend for us, and the boys did excellent. Got some good highlights. It was also my daughter's first birthday, so if you guys have been keeping track of all the comings and goings, yesterday was the weekend. It was a smash cake day on Sunday. It was actually less smash and more hugging of the cake. I think my daughter had the cake melted to the front of her, but it was lots of fun. Another thing is a quick update for you guys. You will see that the logo is a bit different today. Today we are talking for Keep Trading Simple, not Major League Forex. We've had a bit of a transition across and rebranded with the name. So same content, keeping things actually a little bit more simple, but as of right now, you'll see that I'm the CEO of Keep Trading Simple. So with that being said, let me go, for those of you that don't know me, let's dive in and I'll give you a little bit of an update. Oops, everything's moving around. Give you a bit of an update. So President and CEO of Keep Trading Simple. My goal is to keep trading as absolutely as simple as possible, remove the distractions for you guys. What I found, if you guys know me, I've been trading since about 2000, right around where the tech bubble happened. Trading is one of those things that the more complicated you make it, the less well you do with it. And the experts have you believe out there that you need to make this as complicated as possible, put indicators everywhere, and that's just not the case. So my goal is to keep this simple for you guys to help you see what's really going on. Obviously, if you guys know me, you know that I'm very busy. This is the family. The baby Jin is now no longer baby Jin. She's little Jin because she is now 1. She's almost ready to walk. Those are my 2 sons. They are both 9 now. They are twins. The bigger one is actually the younger of the 2, who is now the middle child. But I'm busy, I'm on the go, so what I did is I've created a couple different programs, a 30-minute trader as well as 5-minute binary courses. It's for people that trade with full-time jobs. As I've said before, keeping things simple doesn't mean that you have to spend 18 hours a day in front of a computer. Use technology, and that's kind of where my focus of things come from. Now, my background, I've been trading since about the tech bubble. Actually, once it started is when I kind of got in. It was perfect timing. I've been a financial advisor as well. I worked for one of the big 3 banks. Realized that really wasn't everything it was cracked up to be. Went out in the private sector again and started helping people learn to trade and do it themselves. So for me, I believe that, pretty much not everybody is meant to trade, but I think everybody should take a shot at it and see if it's for them or not for them. And that's my philosophy. So let's go down and see. Whoops. There we go. Got to remember, I got a new mouse and the keys on it are a little different. So just a bit of a disclaimer for today, guys. Remember that trading on Nadex involves financial risk, and it may not be appropriate for all investors. The information presented here is for information and educational purposes only, and should not be considered an offer or solicitation to buy or sell any financial instrument on Nadex or elsewhere. Any trading decisions that you make are solely your responsibility. You won't hear me say you should go out there and buy this or do that. All your trading decisions are by you. Okay, now past performance is not necessarily indicative of future results. Nadex contracts are based on underlying asset classes, including Forex, which we're going to spend a lot of time on today, stock index futures, and commodity futures. Now, trading can be volatile, and investors risk losing their investment on any given transaction. However, the design of Nadex contracts ensures that investors cannot lose more than the cost to enter the transaction. Very, very important to understand that. Now, Nadex is subject to U.S. regulatory oversight by the CFTC. All right. So with that being said, let's jump in. We actually have a lot to talk about this week. For those of you that know me, you know that I absolutely love news trading. It's one of my favorite things to do. Obviously, it doesn't take a long time to do. Another one of the reasons I like it. But this week is chock full of news releases. Last time we met 2 Mondays ago, it was kind of a little bit of an anemic week. Wasn't a whole lot going on. It was the week before Memorial Day. Not really any U.S. news release at all that week. A little bit of foreign stuff. We were waiting for the European elections. We're through that drama now, but this week there's big changes. Okay, we have a lot of news this week, and it was very, very hard to rank the top 3. So if you guys aren't familiar with this, what I'll do is I'll rank the top 3 news moves of what I believe are the most tradable. And again, these are in my opinion what I think are the most tradable. But I'll go through the entire week and kind of give you a rundown of big areas that you guys should be looking for, and then we'll dive into the charts, and same thing. I'll show you some areas that I'm potentially looking for, and we'll follow up on some of the things we've talked for in the past. All right, so number 1 this week is, it's actually tonight, depending on where you live, into tomorrow morning. Now, these times are in Eastern time. I'm over in Maryland, so this is my New York time zone. But at 12:30 tomorrow morning or tonight, we have the Aussie rate change. All right. Now it is expected to change. That is probably already factored in. But a lot of times when you have these rate changes, and again, they're not guaranteed they're going to change. It's what's forecast that they are going to change it. A lot of different things could happen. Instead of being a 0.25 drop, it could be a 0.5. Okay, those double releases send the market going crazy. But one of the advantages of this one versus say a U.S. rate change, because it's at night, there's not as much, there's not as much volume out there. They tend to, have pretty good movement, and a lot of retraces come off of it. So to me, that's my number one for the week. I'll be looking for opportunities tonight. Number two, Friday is we're back to our 8:30 a.m. US and CAD kind of mirror news releases. These things can be, it's kind of like a love-hate relationship with them. When you get a positive in one and a negative in the other, the markets move. Some great trade setups off of those. Sometimes they cancel each other out, but a lot of times, particularly with where we are right now, I know last week there were some tweets and some news out there about potentially increasing tariffs on Mexico. One thing that I'm listening for this week is, and if you guys remember this, the last time we heard any news about tariffs with Mexico, there was also another country involved, and that country was Canada. So if we're going to start putting tariffs on Mexico, could there be suddenly news this week about tariffs against Canada? Okay, so something I'm kind of watching out for this week. It may or may not happen. We'll see. But we have non-farm employment change, basically employment in both countries. I do have some information about Canada just because my wife is from Canada, so we kind of keep up with it, about what their economy is looking like and their housing. Interesting kind of side note on this one. And again, I don't want to run off too many tangents, but they have an interesting situation. If you guys remember what caused our market crash last time, it was the subprime mortgages, right? We were actively trying not to crash home prices, but Canada has a different scenario. Canada is trying to crash home values. They are so overinflated at this point from foreign, cash investors coming in that the local population can't afford to buy anything. So they're actually trying to crash their housing market. Okay, a little bit different scenario than what we have. So CAD is a very interesting play. If you guys do not watch the dollar CAD, watch it. Okay, a lot of stuff there, a lot of good trading opportunities. Lastly, Monday at 9:30 p.m. Eastern time, 6:30 for you Pacific people out there. Aussie retail sales. Retail sales has been amazing to trade for the Aussie. Again, 9:30 at night, anybody can trade it. If you guys are futures traders or you're doing other things, you can always come back to the computer at night, get in the habit of, putting trades on before you go to bed. Perfect one. This thing has been running 40 to 50 pips for retail sales when there's been misses. And again, for news trading, understand there's two things that can happen with news. There's a forecast, and it could be dead spot on, that forecast, and you don't see that much movement, okay? But between 65 and 70% of the time, the forecasts miss, and that's where these things tend to run and explode. Most of the time, the markets have things factored in for the forecast. So if the forecast is wrong, the market needs to readjust, and that's where the movement comes from. So that's why these have been great. Really, anything with GDP or retail sales with Aussie at night has been wonderful. But there's a lot of things going on right now this week with news. So if you guys are unfamiliar with this site, I definitely recommend you go there. There are so many different resources on this, and not just for Forex, just for a lot of things. You'll see oil and gold, even Bitcoin's up here, right? But go over to dailyfx.com. It's a news site with a lot of different information. Go across the calendars and charts. Drop down to economic calendar right here in the middle. Just drop down, hover over it, right? And first thing, it's going to kind of give you, all these. Basically, what's happening and what the rates are. I want you to scroll down to where you get this kind of large list. Okay. First thing I want you to do is I want you to change the time to where you live. Okay. So we are New York, Toronto, and Santiago. Go to filters. Okay. Everything up here is okay, although I'd remove the Mexican peso. That one is not necessarily a large currency mover. I do leave China up there. Chinese news will absolutely move the markets. Okay. Take medium and low off, and that way we can kind of get a good view of kind of what's happening over the week. Close this and then hit this weekly view button. Okay, so just to recap, go to charts and calendars, economic calendars, go down and change your time zone, go to filters, get rid of low, medium, take Mexico off, and then I want you to hit weekly view. Okay, when you hit weekly view, it's easy to scroll down and kind of see, and this is going to give you all the highest kind of important news releases for the week. And you can see this week, there are a lot of them, okay? And again, we started off talking about, again, the Aussie rate, but you'll see today we have some manufacturing numbers, right? ISM manufacturing, ISM employment. Manufacturing is always important because it's considered one of the news releases that is foreshadowing what's coming in the economy. All right, so there will probably be some movement around here. The forecast is that it's actually going to be up a little bit, but these numbers were starting to get a little bit disappointing before. So we'll see. If these come in disappointing, I expect the U.S. market today, the U.S. stock market, to have a rough day. The Canadian number isn't as much of a mover. You can see a little bit of movement, but most people, all eyes will be on the U.S. manufacturing. You can see, then we go into Tuesday, and again, this is that 12:30 number in the morning. We're expected to have a 0.25% rate cut. Okay, so here's the three scenarios. One, it comes in at 0.25. We're going to see a bit of a bounce. Lower interest rates actually will weaken your currency because people don't want to put their money there. It means that the Aussie is, having some economic issues. They're trying to lower the currency to make it more attractive for exports, right? Well, if it stays at 0.5, that's a big miss. The market is not adjusted for that. It's going to move. If it comes in and they drop it to 1.00, which I don't think they'll do this time, but if they did something like that, again, you will have large movement. You will see a large explosion. All right. After that, you can see some consumer price index information tomorrow morning. These can be hit or miss. Me personally, I don't trade these too often. If you are up, go ahead and look at them. You will see some movement in the euro. Again, this is after the European Open, so you'll see some movement. How speaking, it's high, but there's no actual release number, so a little bit harder. And then again, this was our number 3 release. Actually, this is a number 3 release, actually, I guess. No, actually, this isn't, but this is GDP. This is another one of the ones. This could have been like 3.1 or 3.2. I just didn't want to load you guys up with all Monday, Tuesday news releases. This one will be a nice one. You can see gross domestic product is down, okay? Now, this is one of those ones, if this comes in at 1.9 or 1.7, that will be considered somewhat of a miss off the forecast, and you will see some movement. Me particularly, the way that I've been playing these is I'm looking at these at night, and I'm playing these in overnight trades. Depending on, this is not a touch bracketable product, but I'm using binaries a lot of times for these. I used to use spreads a lot more, but I'm finding that lately the binaries have been better for me. Again, make your own determination. If you like spreads better, trade it with a spread. If you don't, again, binaries is what I like most for the these overnight kind of news releases. All right. Going into Wednesday, again, you're seeing another non-manufacturing services ISM number. I think we'll get a bit of movement. And again, Wednesday, again, you guys will see oil numbers. I think that would be a big deal with oil at 54 right now. Thursday, again, we have a lot of speaking, right? We have this European, bank rate decision. It's not expected to move at all. Marginal lending, not going to move. Deposit, again, really not a whole lot. Where I think this European news is interesting is basically when you're at 0, there's really nowhere else to go. Okay, that's the central bank lending rate. You're at 0. Even your marginal rates are basically nothing. One of the things that we did in the last financial crisis, if you guys aren't familiar with it, is we kept cutting rates to make lending easier and easier and easier and easier. And that's what really set the dollar off and everything else. And one of the big things that we've been focusing on is, if we left our rates all the way down there and we went into another recession, another crash, we've lost the ability to lower rates again. Well, guess what? Europe's down. They never raised their rates. So if we go into kind of a global recession right now, Europe's in trouble because they can't drop rates anymore, right? We're already really nothing, right? So it'll be interesting to see what Draghi speaks, because basically everybody else in the world is talking about, lower growth and recession and things like that. And again, we are due for these things. This is nobody's fault. We should have had one a year or 2 years ago anyway, but it's going to be interesting to see what they talk about. All right. So again, Thursday is a bunch of guys speaking and some, a little bit of releases. Friday is what we talked about before. We have this double release. And again, you'll see this is all at 8:30, right? We have CAD unemployment, the net change in employment, the unemployment rate, the change in non-farm payrolls, and the unemployment rate. So all this is kind of popping in. Again, whenever you see an employment rate down, it's interesting. Again, we'll see if we stay at the 3.6, it could go up. I think this time we should be okay. I think this number may miss to the high side. It's just kind of my read on it. I could be wrong, but this is one of those numbers that misses quite often, the non-farm. This one doesn't jump. You don't see as many misses the unemployment rate. Last time that we had an unemployment rate decision, though, we had talked about it, and I said I wouldn't be surprised if it drops, and it did. I think this time we'll hold or we'll increase. I don't think we'll drop again. I just don't, like I said, this one isn't a miss. It's typically this number that we see the big movements off of. But again,
a lot of news that you can trade that morning. If both these numbers come in pretty short, pretty stable, and CAD's numbers are down, which they look like they're going to be, particularly if the CAD jumps to a 5.8, look for some movement in the dollar CAD. Again, trade that with binaries, okay? Get some nice explosions. So with that being said, let us jump into the charts. So for those of you that haven't been here before, what I'll do is I will go down and we will look at all the Nadex specific currency pairs. Again, it's kind of early, 7:45 in the morning. Again, I wanted to do these before news releases and things occurred. Obviously, we're not going to talk really much about the stock market. But what we'll do is we're going to cover the charts for all the Nadex kind of optionable pairs, all right? Starting with that one, we have Aussie Yen. So Aussie Yen is one of those pairs that, again, you get some pretty good movement off of it. It has an ATR right now of about 57, which is a little bit kind of misleading. The reason I say it's misleading, and those of you that are unfamiliar with what the ATR is, it's basically the average range a day, right? How much you can typically expect it to move around. It used to be much higher than 57, okay? But we're down at 57 right now just because we had a lot of sideways movement. You guys can see kind of last week, right? Right in here, those of you familiar with candles, you'll see that really the body's disappeared, right? Well, that really affects the ATR. Okay, when we're coming back in here up and down, and again, this is back, earlier in the year and Brexit and this and that and what's going on, a lot more movement. Well, lately it's been a lot more flat. Okay, you guys may wonder what this green is. We had talked before last week. Again, we had that original gap. We talked about that we had this large, really kind of extended range candle, right? It was a candle, very, very large. It was over 200 pips. It was multiple times over what the ATR was. Just straight up, right, after we had this kind of spike that we had everywhere. This was actually what we were using for kind of a profit target, right? We entered the area, we retraced up, and then we pushed through. So that was a follow-up from what we had from a couple weeks ago. Now, where we are now is kind of an interesting, it's a little bit of a no man's land right now. The reason why is because if you guys can see, I'll slide this back a bit. You guys see this very, very large wick right here? So I am mostly a price action trader. Okay, I look at the way that candles are formed, the reaction, the time. There's a lot of different things that we will look at, right? It's not really indicator based. I'm not a huge believer in indicators. It's very difficult now because this typically, when we see large wicks, it shows us that there was a lot of buying pressure in here. But the question is, where are the orders? Are the orders only down here where there absolutely nothing? Was this a desert of orders? And most time it's not. A wick will typically signify that there are still orders sitting there because there wasn't an agreement back and forth. So last time we talked, okay, we said that we really needed price to be able to break out of these two areas, this 76.50 and this 75.30 area. And we basically ended the week smack that in the middle of it. We said we think we're going to kind of go sideways. And again, this was for last week, I guess, so you guys would have missed this part. But this is a big thing that we're looking for, okay? Price, again, on Sunday did go below, but now it's pulling back in, okay? So we don't quite have a lot of direction. Now, when we're looking on the daily, we are entering this no man's land, okay? Price did drop down, and again, it basically flatlined right on the entry here, this 75 kind of 40 area. Finally broke below, but then again, it's pulling back, okay? So this is a trap area. It's a very, very common area, so be very cautious about any shorts in this until we get true confirmation to the downside. Things that I would look for, and again, mark off, is gap areas. So this is an old area. So I'll pull this up to here. For me personally, this is where the gap initiated. This is where the gap filled. So we're kind of at that gap area right now, right? This is where the gap filled to. That's what we're bouncing off of. For me, again, this is on a retrace. This is what you're looking for a target. If I can get up into this 75-ish area, I will potentially be looking for shorts if I get confirmation. Okay, now again, I don't use indicators for confirmation. I don't use oversold. I don't use overbought. I am dropping to lower time frames and looking for candle formations, or what I would call color changes. So that's currently where I'm looking for right now. The exposure in this pair is always through the yen. Again, there's a lot of Aussie news. This pair will be a mover tonight. This is one of the ones, again, if you remember, tonight and going into tomorrow is where we have our, GDP number. We have a rate change. This is a pair you're going to look into on this one. Now, ideally, what I'd like it to do is I would like it to spend the day grinding back up into the 76 region. If we can get it to grind back in the 76 region, I may actually get short this trade before the news tonight. We'll see. Typically, what you'll see is if there's going to be movement, price will move into a buy or sell zone before the news. And again, the news doesn't necessarily matter. It forces it where it was going to go anyway. All right. So This is one of the pairs that looking at tonight, and again, 76 is the magic number for me. Look for that one. Again, if we start to push to the lower side down towards 75, we may be on the top of a cliff heading straight down. But big things I'm looking for is the 75 number on the 4-hour and 75.75 on the lower time frames for an intraday trade. Now, little brother of this one is going to be the Aussie dollar. You can see the Aussie dollar, again, we entered this no man's land, right? We had the fill on the extended range candle, and this was kind of the no man's land, right? We got the entry that we wanted. We kind of pulled back, grabbed some orders, and pushed through. And then it kind of just flatlined, again, honest. You'd be out of this trade right now. You wouldn't be looking to take this one all the way down. But what I would do is I would mark off this kind of 68, 60 area. This is where we saw we definitely had some buyers, right? Price went down, it gapped up, it came right back down to the low, again, set its traps, and then kind of pushed higher. If this gets up into the 70 range, just slightly above where we are right now, you guys will see the nice little basing area here. Once it clears, I will be looking for potential shorts here again, if I can see confirmation on the 30-minute or the lower time frames. Right now, everything is showing up and it's kind of in a grinding up period. But again, this is one of those ones that will definitely move with rate changes. Rate changes, again, GDP, retail sales, the things that we've mentioned. This is going to be a good one for us to kind of catch this evening. And again, that's what I'll be looking for. During the day, the US numbers, I'm not as worried about this one. There are better pairs. This one's ATR is only 41. It's really kind of shrunk up. It used to be about 60. And again, not uncommon, but again, things are getting a little bit smaller because we're entering summer. That's just where I'd watch on this one. Of the two, the Aussie yen moves more, but again, this one has, this is obviously one that obviously has binaries and, things that you can trade overnight. All right. Neither of these two have touch brackets yet. When they expand the touch brackets, I'm sure these two will probably get one. But right now, you're left doing these two with spreads or binaries. Okay. Let's see. Dropping down to the euro picture. So euro has really pulled up. This thing had been going. We had an area of basing. We had a little bit of a pullback. We had a breakthrough. Again, this pair is a very challenging one to play right now because at any moment in time we can get some type of news about European numbers. Again, there's a lot of European speeches this week. Any talks about European recession could definitely send this number back down again. We've seen a lot of pound strength in this, and again, it's mostly the euro weakness that we're seeing, not necessarily the we're seeing the pound weakness in this one. This pair is going up higher and higher and higher. A lot of this has to do with, again, the big B word in the room, Brexit. Again, nothing's really final with May resigning. That kind of threw a little bit of a monkey wrench into there. We'll see what unfolds this week. Like I said, with summer coming in, we will hear more news about it. Technically speaking, one thing I am looking for is, again, this is a pretty clean kind of run up, right? We did run into some issues, and again, this is another small area that we just bounced off of right now. Literally across the board, we're seeing sideways upward biased confirmed, meaning that, again, it's pushing higher, but it's just grinding, okay? This is a lot of time without a retrace, and really we had nothing yet, right? Up, and we just based sideways. There was really not a whole lot of retracement back down again. We kind of flatlined and had a little bit of a pop. Let's see, what the best thing to tell you for this one is. I mean, really, there's pound news on Thursday that I think will kind of assist us a bit. And there's some monetary policy on Thursday as well for the euro. Besides that, there's not really wouldn't say there's one time that stands out to me. Tuesday morning, there's some CPI numbers. CPI numbers, again, whenever you have CPI in there, there's a bit, again, those numbers are forecast to be lower than what they were before. There is some pound news, but it's all kind of medium to low news on Wednesday. Going into Thursday, Carney speaks, but I don't know that he really has a lot to say. The monetary policy, the European stuff on Thursday, the bank rates. Fortunately, there's no real big economic numbers like the top quality, the cream of the crop numbers that we like. They're just not there for this pair. So for me, I'm going to kind of see where this one rolls out, looking for shorts. I'm not going to jump in long for this one. I just don't see a lot to the upside that I want to step in. It's a bit high. It's a bit high right now, all right, for where we traditionally are. Dropping the euro yen again, you can see price kind of collapsing, going through the bottom. Again, we had this kind of sideways area. Again, we are in no man's land on this one, and this one has been kind of a continuation trend to the downside. Again, a lot of this pair has to do with the yen, right? Pushing, again, impulse correction, impulse, a little basing, impulse correction, went a little bit higher, hit this basing level, and has again been pushing farther. But this has been a yen story, not a euro story, okay? Again, I think we can see a continuation of this. Things that I'm looking for, again, I think we're going to have a little bit of a retrace. If it starts to push lower below this 120.78 number, I would definitely look to hit, I've been mentioning before, I think this one has the ability to go back into this kind of 119-ish, 119.75, 50 area. And I think this week we could potentially get a little bit more help. Anything euro bad on this one, any negative news this week in euro, I see this coming a little bit farther down in this continuation. This one is actually moving up. Its ATR is up to 60, basically 68.9, 69. It was a little bit lower. We're starting to see a little bit more candle movement. And again, it's pushing through no man's land pretty nicely, okay? Going down to the euro dollar. Euro dollar, okay. This one, again, we had our measured moves in a row. We had multiple measured moves. This one had a little bit of a hiccup. It made it about halfway down the next move, popped up, grabbed some more orders in this area, went down again, and then failed to go lower. Okay, so after a run of kind of 4 measured moves, this could be the end. If we break above this 120, what is it, the 112.07 area, about 30 pips from where we are right now, this one will finally have broken after, I think it's 4 or 5 runs to the downside. The magic of the, actually I think it's more than that, 1, 2, 3, 4, yeah, it went up to 6. It will finally break us on the 6th one, which again, you'd still be positive in this trade. It was a great sell area. At its peak, you were up, let's see, we're up about what, 55, 57, something like that? Oh no, 111. We're about 130 at the peak on this one. So we'll see where it goes. U.S. numbers later today, the manufacturing numbers will cause some movement in this pair. This is primarily where you're going to see U.S. news, affecting the currency market. Again, we're at a basing level right here. It is kind of more set up for a short right now, but again, we had a quite a large rally up. So for me, I'm looking at this 111.35-ish area as an area. If price comes down, again, wouldn't be surprised if this is a bounce kind of forming a channel. You can see we had some kind of movement here, so wouldn't be surprised if this is the bottom side of a channel with an upside channel of 112.11. Looking at the pound yen. So pound yen, again, we had this blue area that we had marked off. We are about 50% of the way through it right now. Again, this was the reactionary kind of explosion candle off of this pair's large wick to the downside. And again, it went down, 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 down. We got an entry, or had you missed the entry off this top area, we blew through the bottom. These are 2 trades we've been talking about since the beginning of May, right? This one filled, the second blue one filled. Okay, here was our target and our sell for our continuation. It came down, it popped, it grabbed more orders and continued to push. And again, the target we're looking for in this one is about the 136 area. We're about 68 pips shy of that one right now. You can see from the weekend it obviously is slowing. It does look like it's making a valid push to the downside. So we'll see if this one is able to break this 136.60 area. It's got about 6-7 pips before we start moving to the low, and we kind of push, again, we continue to push back down again. And for me, if you have been short this pair, I'd definitely be looking to take some profit out of it at around 136. It will act as a bit of a magnet and kind of draw it in to that area, just being a round number. I mean, everybody loves 0 numbers. 136.00 is one of those figures. Look for it to come down, take your profit, look for a bit of a retrace, because again, that will be a trap area as well. It also coincides with this, okay? And again, nothing wrong with taking profit off and reestablishing yourself. Again, you can get in on a retrace, you can get in on a very small position. Again, nice little kind of setups on this one with binaries and spreads. Now, little brother, little sister, whatever you want to call it, the pound dollar. Now, pound dollar has pushed all the way back down again, and this was kind of a profit area. Same thing. This one had a little bit different of a scenario. Here was that big spiky wick, and its takeoff was a little bit smaller, right? It was actually the top of the candle, and we were using this as a target. It pushed to the target, it bounced out of it, grabbed more orders, made another attempt, broke through the bottom, and kind of pushed up, and it stopped, okay? Now, one of the things that makes this pair a little bit different than the other ones we covered is this is actually a touch bracket pair, okay? And again, as I mentioned this before, if you guys have not traded touch brackets, go in there inside of demo in Nadex. Again, everybody has one. Go check it out, okay? Don't go into live money until you feel comfortable trading touch brackets. Right now, I can't drag it over, but the way the touch brackets are established now, this is some pretty nice positioning. There are 4 days left on them. We are early in the week. This is the time to get in there and try them out. People that are giving touch brackets a chance absolutely love them, okay? Go in there, try this one. We talked before about this being the target, and again, it worked out pretty well last week. We had a lot of movement. You guys can see over here. I mean, you had 4 days basically straight down. This thing dropped about 300 pips. It was great for touch bracket practice, right? This will move today as well with IM manufacturing numbers, but right now it's kind of it's not in an area where I'm willing to go long, but I'm not ready to go short yet. This is going to have to break new lows down here in that 125.50, 125.60 area. I am cautious though. We are inside of that no man's land, inside of this wick, and you can see, you know, if I pull it back to July of last year, look, you know, basically a year worth of data, we are on the very, very bottom side of this. Okay, so if you're going to draw, you know, kind of, if you're going to divide this out, this is one of the tools. I don't know if you guys use this or not. You know, you can use your Fibonacci, not using the crazy. You can use the tool instead of using the kind of standard draws for it. Use 30. You know, basically base it off of 0, 30, 60, or you could do 33, 66, and 100. And you're typically looking to short more when it's on the top side and buy more when it's in the bottom 30%. We're definitely down in the bottom 30%. Okay. So you can see as far as equilibrium goes, that's right around I'd say about the 130-ish area. We're pretty low in this one. Now, not to say that it can't continue to drop farther, but just keep cognizant of that on the daily level, that we are definitely on the lower side of things, all right? So I want to see what kind of happens here. Again, I don't expect this to be a big mover today. The ATR of this one is 80, so it does, you know, tend to move a bit. You know, but we got to get some direction. So let's see when U.S. traders step in where this one starts to move. You guys can see there's definitely some, you know, big movement. Again, this is a very common pattern. You see large movement and then it retraces back up to exactly where it started from. Okay. You know, again, big advantage of this one, it is a touch bracketal pair. So you can trade this with binaries, call spreads, or touch brackets. All right. Dollar CAD. The dollar CAD is something we're going to be watching. So one of the things I like about this one for dollar CAD is we're up kind of stuck right now for 4 days inside of a previous selling area. Now, one thing I will note, price did spike higher and try to trap people on the top side. You know, you'd be like, oh, I'm going long, and that's why it keeps pulling back, okay? Obviously, we had a bit of a gap, right, over the weekend. Typically, the gaps will retrace back. So one of the things I'm looking for right now is it gapped above a selling zone on the 4-hour. We're kind of stuck in that channel right now, that buying area, right? So it went above, it pulled back. It's kind of doing its thing. It looks like it's starting to push back down again. But we have from 134, basically 135 down to 134, basically what, 40? So we have about a 60 pip run to fill the gap here, right? You're looking from here to here, right? You have this area that can potentially be filled today. So if we have bad US news, bad manufacturing news that is this morning, where do you think this is most likely going to go down to? Probably this 134 area, okay? Again, this could be one that you could do with spreads. If you can get into a 2-hour spread, these are not bad. Again, 2-hour binaries, there's a lot of different things, a lot of different ways you can play this one. But again, it definitely looks like it's retracing back. On the lower time frames, the 30-minute, you guys can see on this right-hand side, only the blue checks are showing us where we have unfilled orders. They're kind of spaced out, kind of far, right? Bit of a gap here. Watch out for that one. But I can see price kind of, you know, trying to push its way back down from old area, which is the horizontal. And again, that would put us kind of smack in the middle of this channel. All right. This channel has still been holding, and again, we've been kind of stuck in this channel back and forth. Again, the magic number is this 134.50. That would be a target. That's the last kind of takeoff point. So just be cognizant of that number. This will be a big one to play. Again, definitely some intraday movement. Just for me personally, I haven't played this one as much overnight lately. I've been playing more of the intraday trades. These time frames, daily, 4-hour, and 30-minute, are set up more for overnight or, you know, somewhat more of a swing trade. Intraday, I would drop this top one. You're in top analysis to 4-hour, so this would become your big chart. This would be your intermediate chart, and then you drop this down to your smallest one, drop down to a 5-minute to kind of get your entries. That's what's kind of working best with this pair right now, particularly in binary realm. Let's see what else we got here. CAD Swiss. So CAD Swiss has pushed all the way back down again. Interesting place where it is right now. This kind of was just a slow kind of grind. We overtook this number. We hit the profit target finally. Actually, yesterday, I guess on Friday, is where we pushed through the bottom of this target. We had this very, very fast kind of push up, retrace, and we said if we got an entry into this one, we were going to take it. People got a little bit nervous on this, kind of pulled back, grabbed more orders, and finally pushed through. Looking to the left over here, there's a little bit of basing, a little push up. There's nothing really explosive out of here. We've passed through the explosion, but looking at the other side, there's a couple things I'm looking for. This kind of explosion area right here, really looking for some type of confirmation on the lower time frames. But instead of looking for an explosion here, what I am looking for is now explosions that are starting to form on this side. Okay, whenever you have a day that is that large, and again, this is from 10079 to 70 pips. This pair only has an ATR of 50, so we were 1.5 times its average range in one day, and it continued today, right? And it's continuing this big push. It's a very steep angle. These are the type of kind of what we would call a racetrack. We're looking to retrace these type of plays, and again, you see it over here, you see it here, you saw it here, it retraced back up. They're pretty telltale signs that there's going to be somewhat of a retest, all right? And it's one of those things, it's a way that we can pick targets. And a lot of people have a hard time picking a target. Well, this is a great way to grab a target, is looking the initiation of the move. Okay, that initiation is right there. So looking for some way to kind of get into this one. Don't have confirmation on the lower time frames yet. And again, this was a bounce here. Again, there's a lot of just basing, right? Up, back, up, back, up, back. A lot of things it's going to have to bounce into, but we'll see kind of where it kind of, where it goes, all right? But again, looking for potential longs here, especially once we get to this bottom level where we had buyers before. We'll see, all right? Again, this is a geopolitical, if there's any talk between us, North Korea, or North Korea shooting missiles, that's where this movement comes from, okay? So anytime there's any talks of anything, that's where you're gonna see movement in this pair. Last but not least, we're going a little bit late today, dollar yen. You can see we already have lots of movement in dollar yen, okay? And again, I'm not gonna say where this comes from. I'm sure you guys can figure it out. We'll see where we go into the ISM numbers today. This was a lower target area. We were looking for kind of here was the re-entry. We were looking for a push through. We got it. It finally hit. Looking at this on a daily, you can see we are in a level of basing. Right in here is what we're hitting right now. And if you look, there's a bit of what we would call ascending wicks, right? Here and then here and then here, a bit of a trend. So there's definitely some buyers inside of this 108 to 107.66 area. As fast as this day went down, we get some good ISM numbers and something positive comes out. Again, that's where we're going to see a bit of a retrace back up again. So definitely some buyers on the lower side. I think it's going to be a little bit easier to go up. But if we get much lower, if we break this 175 area, we got to start talking about strategies to handle this large wick in this pair, okay? And that's where we are. Like I said, most of the movement, you guys can figure out where this came from last week. Yeah, particularly on the 30-minute here. This is all reactionary to news from Friday and over the weekend. But we'll see what the U.S. news brings us this morning. Like I said, positive news. I definitely think this could be beneficial, shoot us back up again. And one area that I'm looking for is right here. This is 108.70 to 108.90. That's 20 pip range on the 4-hour. When price came down, it stopped and spent a good 4-hour period here and based sideways before collapsing again. If you're looking for a continuation to the downside, particularly with news, if price spikes up at news, this could be a potential sell area, small 20 pip risk, which is one strike in Nadex, to take this further. And then again, looking for targets into this 107.40, about 100 pips down from where we are right now. All right. Okay, so with that being said, guys, that is going to be it for this morning. Like I said, let's see. Boop, 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 boop. There we go. All right, so for those of you that are new, again, this website is just launching actually this weekend. Today is the first time that it has been public under the new name. You guys can hit us on Instagram as well. There may be 1 or 2 posts, but if you want to go over there and follow, we'll be posting a lot of our setups over there, and giving a bunch of examples about things. For those that know me, you're not going to see Porsches, you're not going to see Rolexes. I don't believe in any of that stuff. I'm a dad that trades, and I love to help people. So you're going to see setups and things like that you can pull some information from. You guys can email me if you have questions, support@keeptradingsimple. The website, most of the links are working. If you guys click on something on the website, if your approver isn't over there, and you get an error message, it's because I haven't had a chance to check all the links. I've been going through them as fast as possible. I found one this morning, but for the most part, things work over there. There is a Discord set up. It has literally just been set up. If you guys want to click it, it's free to get in there. You can chat with other traders. Traders are coming across and adding. You're more than welcome to ask questions in there, and I will answer them in short order. Whenever I'm sitting in front of a computer, I try to answer any questions that we get and get back as much as I can. So thank you guys so much for joining this week. I really appreciate it. I will see you guys same time next week. We do have a website. Bob, sorry, I just saw Bob's question in there. Yeah, you can head over to Keep Trading Simple. Bob, the best way to get in touch with us right now or stay kind of connected is that click that Get Started Now link. That'll put you and pop you into Discord. Discord is kind of our chat forum, so we can stay more active than just a simple forum. But I will be here again next week, and there will be more things functioning on the website. I basically had to build a website from kind of the ground up on this one. So, but we will keep you guys engaged that way, or just go on Instagram or shoot me a message. But again, I will be back same time next week. All right. So good trading week. Get some news trades out there. Love to hear some of the feedback from you guys next week as well for any of the setups that we talked about this week. And trade safe. And I will touch base with you guys next week. Take care.